We are going to take our first question from Sam Blum.
Hey, Sonny. I'm curious. I know that you guys are pre-scheduled for the 5th. Are you guys looking at any games on the 12th, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question. I think there's just so much in the air right now in terms of who's playing, when they're playing, all that. I mean, I think we would like to schedule a game. It's just hard right now to lock anything in and be real certain about it. Um, but you know, I mean, and some of it depends on what's going on in terms of possibilities still for the conference championship and considerations along those lines. So there's a lot of things to consider. Not a whole lot of knowns right now, a lot of unknowns, and so we've talked to some folks about it and are still certainly open to that possibility. But I think as of now, it's just hard to nail anything down.
Our next question will be from Damon Sales.
Hey, Sonny. Last week, obviously no game. Was this a blessing in disguise for you guys in regards to just, getting mentally, revamped and getting that extra bit of juice or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this time of year everybody's beat up, and certainly, from a physical standpoint, we definitely were. But I think probably as much as anything else, mentally, we're a little fatigued and a little tired. We just, if you go back and you look at our schedule, really since our guys reported, we haven't had consecutive days off since August sometime. And the reason we haven't is just that we didn't want our players to go home. We felt like from the very beginning that if we could keep them together and keep them around people that were being tested, that was going to increase our possibility and likelihood of being able to play games and keep our guys healthy. And so that's been our approach, is we just haven't had a lot of time off because, if you're a college student, you hadn't been home in a while and you have 2 days off, you got 48 hours off. Got a lot of guys are going to jump in the car and go home, and then all of a sudden you're going to be around, people that probably aren't getting tested, people that aren't, don't really have the same lifestyle that we've had to have. And I think that's been the biggest change for all of us is just, when you look at our coaches and our players and everybody associated with our program, I mean, it's been a significant lifestyle change for everybody. There's just, we had, I don't remember the last time I rode in a car with somebody. You know, um, we just don't do much outside of come to work and go home and see your family and kind of repeat the process. And so, you know, um, I think that probably that leads to mental fatigue probably as much as it does, physical fatigue. So, we tried to go practice light last week. I mean, we practiced, straight through the weekend. We practiced on, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, um, and then got back in our normal routine today, which is today off. But to our players' credit, they've been great. I mean, we had an early morning weightlifting session Sunday morning, and then brought our players back Sunday afternoon to have a practice, and the guys were great. They practiced hard, and so I think it was good enough for us. So, we tried to rest the guys as much as we could physically, and I think just extra rest and not traveling and all that probably helped. So I think our guys are in a lot better spot, right now than we were this time last week, both mentally and physically.
We'll take our next question from Steve Lansdale.
Coach, above and beyond giving the guys a little bit of time to rest and recuperate, given the extra days built into this preparation because of the Houston game falling through, do you and your staff expand or change your preparation at all for East Carolina to maybe add a little bit more to this game plan?
Yeah, I think that just depends week to week, on kind of what your approach is going to be going into the game. Um, there are some teams you face that you feel like, okay, we're going to get this look consistently. We can create this matchup by getting this formation of this personnel group, and then you want to build kind of your game plan around that. With East Carolina, they're very multiple in what they do. They do a lot of different things, a lot of different coverages, a lot of different fronts, blitz a lot, play very aggressive. And so, I think sometimes, the worst thing you can do when you face somebody like that is try to do too much. So we've been pretty mindful about not trying to outthink ourselves, and just because we do have some extra time, that's something you always worry about is, all of a sudden, we're going to come up with these, 12 new plays and do all this stuff that's, certainly not going to contribute to playing well. And so when you do have some time off, I do think you have to be careful that that you just assess your opponent, just assess what you think's best, and resist the temptation to try to do too much.
Next question comes from Rich Phillips.
Hey, Coach, I know ECU's only got the 2 wins so far this year, but I would think based off last year's game and especially the performance of Holton Ahlers, their quarterback, they've got y'all's attention this week.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the same thing. The good thing about our players is you can put the film on and they can watch it and they can see, they can see their players and how they play. Then they're going to see, number one, they're playing really hard, and number two, they have a lot of talent, a lot of speed. They're going to see that schemes give you problems. Their ability to throw the ball and then be able to scheme you in the run game, and then defensively, going back to what I said earlier, there's just so many different looks and fronts and coverages, and so I think the guys can see it themselves when they watch the film, and so I don't think it's going to be a hard sell. I think our guys realize that they're a very talented football team, and like you said, all you have to do is you go back and look at the game against Tulsa. They went on the road and really played well against Tulsa. Should have won the game. Had a couple of misfortunate things happening down the stretch to keep them from winning the game, but and then played well against Temple last week, and like you said, you got to go back to our game last year where we were holding on to the very end. And so I think our guys have a lot of respect for East Carolina and the way they play and their players and their schemes and their coaching staff. So I think that I don't anticipate that being a problem.
Next question comes from Tony Siracusa.
Hey, Coach, you came out of the last game a couple of weeks ago a little bit nicked up at some positions. How is the team's health right now? Anything of any specific concern going into this week since you had the extra time off to rest players?
Yeah, no, we're in much better shape than we were. The guys that kind of got nicked, I think, are feeling better. Danny Gray practiced yesterday, and I would expect to have Brian Massey. And so a lot of the guys that were pretty banged up are healthy now and in full speed practicing. And so it's good to get that extra rest. And, we looked fast yesterday in practice, and, I'm looking forward to us playing fast on Saturday.
All right, going back to Sam Blum.
I know obviously you guys have a couple games left, but in a few weeks, this will obviously be a big, concern with, I'm curious if you've had any conversations with Shane on coming back. And then secondly, one other guy you didn't mention there was Jalen Thomas, if he's going to be available.
Yeah. Jalen's fine. Jalen's practiced. He would have played last week against Houston. So he's doing fine. He's fully recovered. I haven't really talked to Shane about it yet. I think that's one of the things that we and I discussed really at the beginning of the year, kind of when they passed this, is we both should say, hey, look, let's do the year, and then we'll sit down, we'll have a conversation, and talk about what we think is going to be best for him. We'd love to have him come back, obviously, but I think we just got to see what's best for him.
We'll take another question from Steve Lansdale.
Yeah, it was mentioned a minute ago, East Carolina only has 2 wins, but last year, obviously, you guys sort of blew up the scoreboard, 110 points between the two of you. How much do you look back at last year's matchup versus what they have done so far this year in formulating your plan for Saturday?
Well, you look at both. I mean, obviously you look at the personnel this year, but then you go back and you look at, okay, what did they do to attack us? And, because you have insight on what they think gives you problems or gave you problems last year. And so you do both. A lot of teams evolve in a year and change kind of what they're doing, and they have a new cast of characters and different players. But at the end of the day, they had a lot of success with the ball on us. So I'm sure they'll go back and borrow from that game plan last year. I certainly would, just based on the the success they had moving the ball and scoring points. And so, that's one of the things that obviously we're going to prepare for is a lot of those same looks and groupings and formations and plays and everything else that we got last year.